They said that he was unbeatable, and they said that no blade could touch him. But every legend hides a weakness, and sometimes it's the smallest place that ends a hero. Before Achilles became a name whispered in fear, before his rage shook the walls of Troy, he was simply a child, born between prophecy and love. His mother, Thetis, was not human. She was a sea nymph, ancient and immortal, who knew the language of fate and the way humans know fear. An oracle spoke before Achilles could walk, that this child will live a short life or an eternal legend. He could grow old in peace or die young, remembered forever. Thetis refused to accept either. So she made a choice that every parent understands and every god secretly envies. She tried to protect him from destiny itself. Under the cover of night, Thetis carried her infant son to the river Styx, a boundary between life and death. Its waters promised invulnerability, not wisdom, not mercy, only strength. She dipped Achilles into the water and into the river, holding him by one small part of his body, his heel. The water hardened against his skin against steel, against arrows, against war. But the place untouched by the river remained human, fragile, and unnoticed. And so Achilles grew, almost a god, yet still a man. Even invincible flesh cannot silence fate. Thetis knew her son was destined for Troy, and she knew that the war would make him immortal in memory, but dead in body. So she hid him, disguised as a girl, among the daughters of King Lycomedes. Achilles lived quietly. He learned softness, he learned silence, and he learned how to exist without violence. For a moment, destiny waited, but destiny is patient. Odysseus came not with force, but with insight. Among dresses and jewels, he placed a sword. While the others admired beauty, Achilles reached out for steel, and in that moment, the world remembered who he was. The disguise fell away, and the war began, because some people are not meant to hide. They are meant to burn brightly, even if briefly. At Troy, Achilles was not just a warrior, he was terror. His presence alone turned battles. His speed defied logic. His strength mocked armor. Enemies ran before seeing his face. But greatness has a cost. Achilles fought not for kings, but for honor. And when that honor was insulted, he withdrew. The greatest weapon of the Greeks chose silence, and silence cost lives. Patroclus was more than a companion. He was balance, he was kindness, and he was the reminder that Achilles was still human. When Patroclus died wearing Achilles' armor, something broke, not in Troy, but in Achilles. His grief became rage, and his rage became unstoppable, because love, when taken, turns strength into destruction. Hector was Troy's heart, and when Achilles faced him, it was not hero versus hero. It was fate versus fate. Hector fell, and Achilles, consumed by grief, did not only stop at victory. He desecrated the body. He denied dignity, and in that moment, the invincible hero became deeply human, cruel, broken, and lost. Paris was not a warrior like Achilles. He was an archer, a man of distance, a man of choice. Guided by Apollo or fate, his arrow flew, not to the chest, not to the head, to the heel, the only place Achilles was still mortal, and that was enough. Achilles died as he lived young, famous, and unmatched. The war continued. The world moved on. But his story remained because Achilles teaches us something uncomfortable. Invincibility is an illusion. Strength hides weakness, and destiny doesn't need much, just one opening. We all have an Achilles heel, not the obvious flaws, not the loud ones, the quiet ones, the thing that we ignore because everything else feels strong, the place that we never protect because we believe that we don't need to. Achilles wasn't destroyed by war. He was destroyed by the belief that he was beyond it. The world remembers Achilles not because he was perfect, but because he wasn't. Because even gods bleed where they are least protected. And maybe the lesson is not to become invincible, but to know where we are not. Thousands of years have passed, and yet his name survives. Not because he won a war. Troy still fell without him. Not because he lived long. He did in fact not. Achilles matters because he reflects us. In a world obsessed with strength, he reminds us that strength alone is not wisdom. We admire power, speed, dominance. But myths were never written to flatter us. They were written to warn us. Achilles is not a story about glory. He is a story about limits. When someone believes that they cannot be hurt, they stop listening. They stop adapting. They stop questioning. Achilles didn't fear death, and that was his most dangerous flaw. Because fear in small doses keeps us alive. It teaches us caution. It teaches humility. And without it, courage turns into recklessness. And recklessness always finds a price. We rarely speak of Thetis after Achilles dies. But imagine her grief. She tried to outsmart fate. She tried to protect her child from the universe itself. And she almost succeeded. Almost. But myths are cruel that way. They remind us that love cannot guarantee safetyness. Parents can guide, they can shield, they can sacrifice, but they cannot decide how their children will be remembered. Today, we no longer wear armor, but we wear identities, success, intelligence, reputation, control. We build lives where everything looks invulnerable, until one thing isn't a single mistake, a single loss, a single truth that we ignored. The Achilles heel today is not physical, it's emotional. Pride, ego, and unchecked certainty. Paris didn't defeat Achilles by strength. He defeated him by timing, by distance, by patience. Most downfalls don't come from enemies charging head-on. They come quietly, unexpectedly, from angles that we never prepared for. The arrow that you don't see is always the one that matters. Leaders fall when they believe they are irreplaceable, when they stop hearing criticism, when they surround themselves with agreement. Achilles withdrew from battle because his pride was wounded, and people paid for it. Power always carries responsibility, even when wounded, especially then. Achilles chose glory over longevity, and he got exactly what he asked for. But legends don't feel the cold. They don't miss people. They don't regret. Humans do. The question is not would you be remembered forever? The question is, what would it cost you while alive? The Achilles heel is not a weakness to be ashamed of. It is a warning to be understood. Know where you are. fragile. Know where pride blinds you. Know where certainty replaces awareness. Strength is not the absence of weakness. Strength is knowing where to protect yourself. Achilles ran faster than any man, fought harder than any warrior, and lived brighter than most ever will. And still, one small forgotten place was enough. So remember him, not as a perfect hero, but as a reminder that no one is invincible, and that is exactly what makes us human. That is all from me. Bye, guys.